And I feel compelled to follow up of Luke's question about Kaho'olawe. What is the timeline of the jurisdiction that DLNR has over Kaho'olawe? Are you in holding it in trust? Is it in the same as any other department has land, or is there a special eventual transfer, and what is the mechanism and the jurisdiction?
Yes, we have, well, the island of Kaho'olawe is held in trust by the state of Hawaii until such time that the federal government and the state of Hawaii recognizes a native Hawaiian sovereign entity. We could be moving forward closer to that date or backwards, depending on how you interpret the ruling about the upcoming convention. So it really, we're kind of in limbo now. I don't know how, I mean, we are tied into the sovereignty movement. And even at that time that the island is offered to this new government, the government may not, this new government may say, we're not ready for it. Hang on to it, state for a few years until we got money ready and we create a government, we have people to manage it, and then train us on how to manage these kind of lands, and then we'll take it over. I mean, we don't have to, we can't force it on the sovereign government.
You actually anticipated my second question, because the AHA, when it comes up in April,
yes,
could then theoretically say that we have now established the Hawaiian nation and it is centered on Kaho'olawe, and we will have Hawaiian hales, and this will be the headquarters, and there will be et cetera, et cetera. Can they not, in effect, put that in the Constitution that's going to come out in April or May or whenever that AHA is finished?
I believe that AHA can do anything if they all agree.
Does this body have to do what you otherwise said is that statutory when you said it's held in trust? In what category of legality is that stated?
That's in our, well, that's in the conveyance documents that the island was returned back to the state of Hawaii, and it's also in HRS 6K. There's a clause in HRS 6K, Section 9, that states that the island is held in trust until such time the federal government and the state government. So even if the AHA says we're going to do all these things and we are a sovereign entity and they self-recognize themselves, the state government has to recognize them, and then we have to get the federal government to recognize that body as a sovereign entity. So it could be next week, could be 30 years, I'm not sure.
So to be clear, the conveyance mechanism was from the federal government to the state of Hawaii to hold it in trust?
The island was already conveyed back to the state of Hawaii, so the state of Hawaii holds it today. And they hold it as a temporary caretaker until such time another entity exists.
And the mechanism for that is not only for their action on it, but also the approval by the state and the approval by the federal, or just by the state?
The federal government is no longer involved in that transfer, but there is a memorandum of agreement that the state of Hawaii signed with the Navy upon transfer, and it restricted certain uses of the land. And the agreement that the state had was, if the land is ever transferred to another entity, this new entity must sign on to those same restrictions that the state signed on to.
Do those restrictions exclude OHA as a possible recipient?
No, no. It just has to be, anyone can take title of the state can transfer this to anybody. But whoever takes it has to agree to the terms of the MOU with the Navy, which you're restricted to certain uses based upon the cleanup that was done out there. You have to abide by the Navy's restrictions on land use and covenants that they placed on the land. And if you agree to it, then you can receive title to pieces of Kaho'olawe.
Okay, so the feds still have a finger in the pie then?
It's an agreement between the state of Hawaii and the federal government, yes.
Last part of that, what percentage of the land is safe? What percentage has ordnance still there and is dangerous?
Well, 75% of the island surface has been cleared of unexploded ordnance, and about 10% of the island has been cleared down to a depth of 4 feet. This is not a perfect cleanup. We still find some unexploded ordnance when we have heavy rains and the soil washes away and exposes new things out of the ground, or things in the 25% of the island that has not been cleared. Those can be washed across the island, based upon rain or wind or anything. So it's safer than it was 20 years ago when I was there as a young Navy officer, and it was even more safer than it was when I was there 30 years ago as a high school student. So It's relatively safer than it was before. That's
And-
the best we can call it.
And the good senator got us how much money to do all that? How much did it cost?
He gave the Navy $400 million. The state of Hawaii got a small portion of that to do environmental restoration work. The agreement between the state of Hawaii and the Navy was that the Navy is responsible for the bombs and the bullets and all the damage they cause. The state of Hawaii is responsible for the 200 years of uncontrolled ungulate, goat, cattle, destruction of the environment. Those were out there since Captain Vancouver and Chief Kahikili on Maui. Those are from long time ago, and the state took responsibility for that portion, and the Navy took responsibility for the bombs. The federal government gave the state about $40 million to use over a period of 24 years to start doing restoration work, and we've done a lot of significant restoration on a place that's very dangerous to do it on, with volunteer labor and no water, no infrastructure, no airports, no harbors. So we've come up with a very innovative way of doing work out there.
Is there any money left?
We probably have we're starting this year maybe about $350,000 in our trust fund. We're very thankful for the funding received from these two committees, the appropriation of $1 million for fiscal year 16 and fiscal year 17, and we're trying to maximize and leverage that money to our best of our ability. When that is about 1/3 of our original budget, when the public heard about that we didn't get as much as we needed, we got a lot of support from donations. Clean Water Act guys had extra funding. They tried to give it to us. We gave it to us. We utilized that for the best of our abilities. We had, within the department, we've been able to seek additional funds to extend the work that we're doing and keep as many of the staff people who are doing this. A lot of my staff have been there for about 15, 20 years, and they're experts on how to do things on a shoestring and bubble gum and tape.
But the bottom line is that could be transferred to the Hawaiian nation at
Yes,
any
it could
time
be, yes.
as
But
readiness.
the question then becomes, will the Hawaiian nation take it as is, or will they say, okay, state, you're responsible, because there is liability that goes along with it. You take control of that island, you are now responsible for the unexploded ordnance that's still out there.
Thank you. Thank you, chairs.
Thank you very much.